Hi everyone, welcome to my channel Get Young Hour. My name's Deb and this YouTube channel is where I just post any old thing about what's going on in my life. I think the camera's on the wonk. Hold on. Yeah, that's a bit better. So, yeah, if you've subscribed to the channel, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. It doesn't cost you anything, and I'm trying to grow the channel, so it would really help me if you did subscribe. So if you want to, please do. As I say, it doesn't, it's free. So that may or may not be a factor on whether you do subscribe. You might just think I'm hopeless, so that's okay, that's up to you. So anyway, first of all, what I want to talk about are some lights that I bought a couple of weeks ago, and I said that I'd show you, and I put them in position down the garden. So I'm quite pleased with them. So I'm going to show you that here, little footage of. Yeah, so that's what that looks like, and we had a family barbecue at the weekend with our wider family, our brothers and sisters, and our family who could come here, those that live in this country and were available to come to the barbecue this weekend. So that was a huge success, and I haven't really got footage of that I want to put up. I will put a little bit of some pictures up after I finished speaking, because what I thought that I'd talk about was our family, our family, my husband and I, and how we met and how that fits in with our wider family. And yeah, so I'm going to start talking about our family now. So if you're interested in that, keep watching. So my husband, his name's Andrew. And we've been married for 35 years. Andrew was 28 when we got married, and I was 25. But we've known each other for a lot longer because we grew up in the same neighborhood. And when I call it neighborhood, I use that term very loosely, because we grew up when we first moved, we lived in South Africa in a very new built estate, I guess you'd call it, in the UK. I don't think they'd use that terminology in South Africa, but so there were very few houses in this place where our houses were. So we lived on one road, and Andrew's family lived on a couple of roads away, and we had other friends. There might have been 4 or 5 roads in this entire place. Okay, so Andrew has two sisters and 2 brothers, and I have 2 brothers. So, but Andrew's sisters, one, Debbie, is a year older than me, and Lisa is a year younger than me. So we attended the same school. And Stephen, his brother, his younger brother, is the same age as one of my brothers. My brothers are both younger than me. Andrew and I are both the eldest children of our families. And so Steve, Andrew's brother, is roughly the same age as Daniel, my younger brother. And I think my brothers, Jonathan, who is the brother who's next in age to me, he is a year older than Steve. And I think both my brothers, Jonathan is 2 years older than Steve, and Daniel is 1 year older than Steve, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, they were friends when they were little boys too, and but we had these other friends who were my age. We had these friends, and their family Lisa was my age, Leslie was a year older, Lee was Andrew's age, and Paul was Daniel's age, my brother Daniel's age, so the same age as Steve. So we all grew up together in this area. So we were all friends at various times in our lives, and so we all knew each other. We all grew up together, and yeah, but we didn't go out or anything. Andrew and I didn't go out. He was a couple of years older than me, but we went out as friends. Like, we would go to places together, not as a couple, but like in the group, in a gang. We all played tennis together. We all went to clubs together when we got older. We all went to Andrew is a huge Formula One fan. He always has been, and we'd go to the races, and we'd go to what else did we? Oh, we'd go to we just hang out basically as a group, as a big gang. We'd hang out, or as a smaller individual friends within that group, we'd hang out. So I just thought it was quite interesting, because I don't know how other people meet, or wonder what scenarios people get together. And so yeah, and so as we got older, obviously I went out with people, Andrew went out with people. We kind of lost touch, didn't, met back up, and then it was one day I was at work, and I thought I found Andrew had been away. He'd been working away in a different country. We lived in South Africa. I think I said that. So Andrew had been working away, I think, in the UK, I think. But I'd heard from another mutual friend that he was back in South Africa, and at the time I was going out with somebody else. So I thought, oh yeah, I haven't seen him for a while. Let me ring him up and see if he fancies going out for a drink, catch up, getting the news, isn't it? So I did. And so we went out for a drink, and then we went out for another drink, and then some friends of mine said, oh, do you want to meet up to go to a local country club? I was like, yeah, I said, oh, I'll bring this friend of mine, Andrew. And so we went to, if anyone's South African, we went to the Bedford View Country Club. And we were like having drinks, chatting. I think Andrew was playing pool with my friend's boyfriend at the time. And I think my friend Linda and I went to the loo, and she was like, oh, how's it going on with this guy, Andrew? And I was like, no, we're just friends. We've been friends for years. She was like, no, he's not your friend. He does not look at you like he's your friend. I was like, what? Anyway, so I was like, what? But that just kind of planted a little seed in my mind. And then we kept on, and then he invited me to go somewhere for the weekend with him, which I'll get further into the story of why I called this My Family and Other Wildlife, because one of the connections that Andrew and I have is that we are both mad about wildlife. So anyway, so we went, and Andrew was potentially going to work at a game lodge, and so he had to attend a pro hunters course, which he had to show skills in shooting, basically an elephant gun, which nowadays you might think, oh, that's horrendous, but in those days the protocol was that if you were a game ranger, you had to be able to be an expert in weaponry, because in those days, if you took guests, if you did walking tours, whatever, within a game reserve, you had to be prepared to shoot, basically, if anything attacked your guests, or if anything. So you had to show that you could do that. So you had to attend this course. So he asked me if I wanted to go on the course, because it was like basically a weekend in a game reserve. So I said, yeah, okay. So I went along. And we had a lovely weekend, and I say it was lovely. It wasn't that lovely because the guy who was running the course was a bit of an idiot. So anyway, I digress. And so Andrew completed the course, passed the course, whatever, and then we kind of like just got together and we started going out, like in a romantic sense, which was kind of weird, but kind of also very easy because we'd known each other. At this point, I think we'd known each other for about over 10 years. So, yeah, we got together and we continued seeing each other, and sometimes it was fun, sometimes boring. We spent a lot of time in like, we'd go up on a Friday night, we'd go up to the game reserve from where we lived, which we lived in Johannesburg, so that's not exactly like, that's a city. It's not, well, we lived in the suburbs of the city. We didn't live, we didn't live in the middle of the city, which my brother, Daniel, he did. He lived on Rocky Street, which is in Hillbrow. Now, if you've seen pictures of Hillbrow nowadays, it's a bit of a no-go zone. But in those days, it was very vibrant. It was very exciting. It was a lovely place to live. And he lived in Hillbrow then. And Andrew and I, well, we didn't live together. We both lived in the suburbs. So anyway, but we'd take every weekend, we'd probably go up to the game reserve and we'd spend quite a lot of time there. And and Andrew planned this wonderful event for me for my birthday. He took me up in a hot air balloon. I'll put a picture in here. So so we went up in that hot air balloon with little people at the side in the picture. So, and he planned to ask me to marry him. But he was scared because he was like, oh, we've known each other for a long time. But we hadn't been dating that long. So he was like, oh, she'll think I'm bonkers. But anyway, so he didn't ask me then. And so then he asked me a couple of weeks later, or a week later, I think, actually. No, it was after Christmas. Was it? Anyway, because my birthday's the week before Christmas. So anyway, he asked me within the next couple of weeks, and it wasn't as romantic as being on a hot air balloon. But that's beside the point. So anyway, we had the opportunity. We were asked by somebody that we knew if we wanted to take over the running of this game lodge, because this friend of ours, he used to run courses on this game farm, on this game reserve. And so but the owners of the game reserve wanted to run it a bit more commercially, and so they wanted to start having guests, advertising, getting guests there. So this person asked us if we would be interested in being that couple, those people who would want to do that. The thing is, Andrew had already been offered a job in Sabi Sabi, which is a famous game reserve. And so he said, well, let's just see how, he said to the people that we knew, okay, let's just see how this pans out. Should we, he was going to go, he was going to find out if they had any other opportunities for me at Sabi Sabi. So I thought, okay, so they said yes, they did. He told Sabi Sabi that he knew someone who might be looking for a job in the game reserve as well. So so they said yes, come up for an interview to me. So I went and I had an interview, and they said, yeah, great, you got the job. So we were like, yeah, we'll go work for Sabi Sabi. But then a bit of a fly in the works. There was a couple at Sabi Sabi at the time, and they were a married couple, but they were getting divorced, and they didn't want anybody to come there who was a couple. So they were like, yeah, Andrew, you've got the job, Deb, you've got the job, but not together. You can't come together. We're not having couples starting working here because we just caused trouble. I think one of them might have been having a fling with somebody there, maybe. So we were like, okay, so we wouldn't take that. We'll take the other opportunity, and we'll start the new. We'll try and start running Jackleberry Lodge, which is what the lodge was called. We'll start running Jackleberry Lodge as a commercial game lodge. So that's what we did. We went and we moved to Jackleberry, and we got that up and running for the people who owned it. And so I'll put some pictures in here of what it was kind of when we were young, what it was like, sort of thing. Yeah, so the White House that we're standing in front of is where Andrew and I lived, and the thatched house, the thatched lodges, that's where the guests went. And so it was quite interesting because we returned there in 2023. We went back to Jackleberry because we were on holiday in South Africa, and we went back to Jackleberry, and I think we were amongst the last group of guests that attended that lodge, that went to that lodge, because it was the people who had owned it when we moved there, when we lived there. They'd sold it to I think, yeah, they had. They'd sold, or had they sold? Yeah, they'd sold it to somebody else who were part of a consortium, which was Thorny Bush. It was part of the Thorny Bush Reserves group of lodges, and so we went and we stayed there. But sadly, I don't know why I say sadly, because the chances of us going back there were quite low anyway. And I don't know, maybe we would have, maybe we wouldn't have. We'll go somewhere else. But anyway, they have now sold that to another private company who don't intend to run it as a commercial lodge. But it had been run for quite a few years as a commercial lodge. And what was really quite interesting is when we went there, when I lived there, I'd painted in this sort of writing, this style of writing on the wall outside, and it was white, the wall, when we lived there. So the wall was white, and I painted Jackleberry Lodge on the wall. And when we went there in 2023, it looked exactly the same. So they changed the paint where I painted it, but exactly the same style. So it was like they'd had it made in metal letters. So they'd had these metal letters made and put Jackleberry Lodge on the front of the gate, which looks like this. I'll put it in now. Yeah, so they were some of the animals that we saw. When we went there in 2023. And yeah, so that's my story for this week. And yeah, in terms of my family, obviously we are quite a close family because we've all known each other for years. And there's not, yeah, like, because even my sister-in-law Debbie, she's married to Keith, who they've been married for I think 40 years. And and when he was here at the weekend for the barbecue, he was talking about a holiday that we took when it was actually my 18th birthday, and we all went on holiday together to the game reserve. And I had a different boyfriend, Andrew had a different girlfriend, but Debbie and Keith were together, and this other friend of ours, Lisa, who was also one of the people that lived in our neighborhood with us when we were growing up. And yeah, and it's quite interesting because it's lovely to think about the people that we knew, the people, like, it was so fun at the weekend. Everybody was reminiscing about the past and about the school that we went to and things that we did and things that we got up to and things that it was things that we knew and but just talked about, and things that we didn't, somebody might not have known, and it was funny. So yeah, that was a real good weekend, and it was really fun. And I hope this makes sense. I hope it's not just me rambling on about some crap that nobody's interested in, but I am. So thank you very much for watching. And yeah, obviously the footage I've put in is not really videos, it's just pictures that we've had from our holidays or from back in the day. And yeah, so I'm going to leave you with one final picture. I have redacted some of the faces because I don't know whether I know that they're not on social media, or some of them are kids, and although other kids are on there too, which are fine, but I've taken my niece's children's faces, and I've taken my brother-in-law's face out because he's not on social media, so I'm not sure if he wants his face in there. But yeah, other than that, that's our family and wildlife. So thanks very much for watching this video. As I said at the start of the video, please subscribe if you want to. And I think next week, I'm not sure. I think I've spoken before. I'm going to start decorating my bedroom. It really needs painting. I'll show you. Yeah, I think that's what I'll do. I think I'll show you what it is like next week and talk about my plans for it. So that's next week's video, and back to school next week and into the burr months. So yeah, thanks very much for watching. Take care. Bye.